No one ever imagined that a single morning could turn everything they believed into something unimaginable. Ayani, a young Apache woman, rose with the sun in the rugged mountains her people had called home for generations. Her life had always been bound to the rhythms of the land, tracking deer along hidden trails, tending to her family's needs, and learning the stories and traditions passed down by her elders. Yet for the past several months, Ayani had been haunted by a series of dreams that felt far more real than any vision she had known before. In those dreams, she saw a man, a rancher named Ethan, though she did not yet know his face or his life, standing alone in the open plains. His eyes were pale, reflecting a sky she could almost touch, and there was a quiet strength in the way he carried himself. Each night, the dreams returned vivid and insistent, as if some unseen force were trying to bring them together across impossible distances. Ayani had tried to dismiss the visions as fancy tricks of the mind brought on by long days and long nights in the wilderness, but something in the rhythm of those dreams refused to be ignored. Each time she woke, the echo of Ethan's presence lingered, a whisper of destiny pressing against the boundaries of her life. And then one crisp morning, as the sun climbed over the ridges and painted the valleys in shades of gold and amber, she saw him not in a dream but standing there, as real and tangible as the earth beneath her feet. Ethan had arrived on the very edge of her people's territory, just beyond the line where the forest thinned into open plains. The air was still, the world holding its breath. Ayani's heart caught in her chest as recognition surged, a strange, thrilling certainty that this man was the one from her dreams. He stood tall, broad-shouldered, with the same pale eyes she had seen countless times in her sleep. His clothing, simple yet rugged, moved with him like it had been shaped by the winds of the plains themselves. Ayani felt an almost electric connection, a thread weaving through space and time, drawing her gaze to his. She knew that Ethan was aware of her too, as if the dreams had bridged their realities long before this moment. The very air between them seemed charged with something larger than life, a collision of fate and free will, anticipation and inevitability. Yet even in the thrill of recognition, Ayani's mind sharpened with caution. The presence of an outsider, a white rancher, could stir suspicion or even anger within her people. Her duty to her tribe, her responsibility to honor her family, and the traditions that had guided them for generations weighed heavily on her shoulders. And yet these feelings of loyalty contended with a deeper, more personal pull, an undeniable curiosity, and perhaps even longing for the man she had only ever seen in her dreams. Her pulse quickened, the wind carrying the faint scent of sage and dry earth as she moved closer, alert, steady, and ready for whatever the morning might demand of her. The moment was surreal, full of tension and wonder. The mountains seemed to watch silently, the golden light brushing over their faces, as two lives poised at the edge of the ordinary, ready to be transformed forever. Ayani knew that choices would need to be made, that actions in the next hours could change the course of not just her destiny, but the destiny of everyone around her. And yet, for the first time in months, she felt a strange peace amidst the uncertainty, the sense that something impossible was about to unfold, and that she, bound by dreams and courage, was ready to meet it. Ayani's breath caught as she finally spoke aloud to Ethan, her voice steady, yet tinged with reverence. "My grandmother, she told me once that I would meet a man I had dreamed of, a man who would walk into my life and show me a path I could not yet see. She said our meeting would not be by chance, that together we could find a new way." The words hung in the morning air, like smoke from a distant fire, heavy with meaning and portent. Ayani's eyes met Ethan's, searching, measuring whether he could comprehend the weight of her grandmother's prophecy. He nodded slowly, absorbing the significance, the unspoken bond forming between them, stronger than any conversation could convey. But the serenity of their encounter did not last. Word of Ethan's presence on the outskirts of the Apache land spread swiftly, carried by traders, scouts, and neighbors who were quick to suspect an outsider. The local sheriff, a grizzled man named Davidson, arrived with a wary frown etched into his weathered face. Beside him, a few townsmen murmured under their breath, uneasy about the strange woman standing with a rancher in a place few whites dared enter. Some whispered fears of danger, of betrayal, of old feuds rekindled by misunderstanding. The sheriff's gaze settled on Ayani, sharp and calculating. "Miss," he said, his voice measured but carrying authority, "you need to leave this territory. It's not safe, and your presence, well, it stirs concern." Ethan stepped forward, instinctively planting himself between Ayani and the approaching men. "She hasn't done anything wrong," he said, his voice low but firm, "and I won't let anyone threaten her while she's on this land. I've lived here for years, paid my dues, helped my neighbors. She belongs on this ground as much as any of us." The tension was tangible. The heat of the rising sun seemed insignificant compared to the storm of suspicion and mistrust gathering around them. Ayani's heart pounded as she realized the delicate balance she had to maintain honor, her people, respect her grandmother's words, and yet navigate the unfamiliar rules and prejudices of the white settlers' world. Her mind raced with questions. How much of her life could she risk for a man she had only known in dreams? How could she bridge the gap between her duty to her tribe and the strange, undeniable pull toward Ethan? Every instinct she had been taught since childhood warned her of the dangers, yet something deeper urged her forward into the unknown. Then came Dakota, her younger brother, riding with a small band of Apache warriors, their horses kicking up dust as they approached with the deliberate rhythm of predators surveying unfamiliar territory. Dakota's expression was unreadable, a mixture of concern, command, and protective authority. He stopped short of the clearing, studying Ethan carefully. "Sister," he said, his voice carrying across the space between them, "you have wandered far from home." There was no accusation in his tone, only the weight of responsibility and expectation. Ayani lifted her chin, the wind tugging at her dark hair, and replied, "I have come where I was meant to come." The standoff created a palpable tension, not just between Ethan and Dakota, but within Ayani herself. On one side was tradition, family loyalty, and the deep history of her people. On the other was the strange, compelling promise that her dreams had whispered to her night after night, an opportunity for connection, understanding, and perhaps even love. The choice was not simple, nor could it be made lightly. Ethan's resolve never wavered. He could feel the eyes of Dakota and the warriors sizing him up, testing his courage and measuring his worthiness. But he knew this was more than a challenge of strength. It was a trial of integrity, honor, and devotion. Every action, every word had to show that his intentions were pure, that he respected Ayani not as a possession, but as a woman capable of her own decisions. He squared his shoulders, letting his presence speak for him, ready to face the consequences if they came. As the sun climbed higher, the nuances of Apache culture unfolded around them. Dakota's posture, the positioning of his warriors, the subtle signals exchanged in their native language, all were reminders of the complex world Ayani inhabited. Her people valued honor above all, the protection of family, and the preservation of tradition, even in the face of change. Ethan's understanding of these unspoken rules became as vital as his bravery, for one wrong move could ignite conflict and sever the fragile bridge forming between two worlds. Ayani took a deep breath, centering herself, feeling the pull of her grandmother's prophecy mingling with the immediacy of her present circumstances. She knew that the next hours would test her in ways she could not yet imagine, navigating suspicion, balancing loyalty and desire, and facing the challenge of bridging two worlds that seemed destined to collide. The choices she made now would not just shape her future, but the futures of those who cared for her, and perhaps even the possibility of understanding between her people and the outsiders pressing against their lands. The scene was set: a young Apache woman caught between heritage and destiny, a rancher whose dreams had led him into uncharted territory, and a brother whose sense of duty would not bend easily. The stage was ready for the trials that would define courage, love, and honor on the wild frontier. And in that tense stillness, with the mountains standing silent, witness the story of Ayani and Ethan's encounter began in earnest, a story of risk choice and the fragile, thrilling possibility of connection across boundaries long thought insurmountable. Dakota's dark eyes bore into Ethan, measuring him with the precision of a seasoned warrior. The younger Apache's voice was calm, yet carried the weight of authority and expectation. "If you wish to keep my sister by your side," Dakota said, "you must prove that your heart and your hands are worthy. Courage alone will not suffice. You must show respect for her freedom and for the life she chooses to live." Every word struck Ethan with the gravity of a hammer. This was not a mere test of strength, but a trial of integrity, honor, and devotion. Ethan met Dakota's gaze evenly, feeling the silent scrutiny of the warriors around them. He understood immediately that this was about more than winning a fight. It was about demonstrating his commitment to Ayani's autonomy, to the respect owed to her as a woman and a member of a proud culture. Slowly, he stepped forward, unarmed, letting his hands hang open by his sides. The sun glinted off Dakota's knife, the blade reflecting the harsh light of the morning, but Ethan did not flinch. Instead, he offered the only weapon he had: his courage and his honesty. Dakota struck first, moving with the speed and precision of a predator. Ethan twisted narrowly, avoiding the blade as it sliced through the air where his chest had been moments before. Pain lanced along his side as a shallow cut opened across his forearm, but he stood firm. Each movement was deliberate, a dance of survival, yet it carried a deeper message. He would not harm Dakota. He would not betray Ayani, and he would endure whatever was necessary to prove himself worthy. The tension was almost unbearable. Every spectator held their breath, sensing the stakes were higher than mere life or death. This was a test of character, a trial that transcended the physical and entered the realm of moral courage. Ayani watched, her heart clenching with fear and awe. The man she had only known through dreams now stood before her, willing to bleed, to risk everything in order to honor her choice. She felt the weight of her own decision pressing upon her, the pull of her heritage and the life she had always known against the promise of something new, fragile, and yet profoundly real. Each strike, each dodge, each breath Ethan took became a testament to his sincerity, a declaration of his love and respect for her autonomy. As the duel continued, Dakota's eyes began to shift subtly. He observed not just Ethan's skill, but his restraint, his unwavering respect for Ayani, and the courage it took to face harm without retaliating. Ethan's willingness to endure pain rather than cause it demonstrated that he understood the essence of honor, not just survival, but integrity, loyalty, and love that could not be measured by force alone. The circle of warriors remained silent, tension thick in the air, yet a quiet admiration began to form behind their eyes. Finally, Ethan stepped closer, allowing Dakota to make one final strike. He accepted the blow, letting it graze him rather than fighting to overpower it. In that moment, he established an unspoken truth. He valued Ayani's freedom above his own safety. The act was not one of submission, but of profound courage, the kind that leaves an indelible mark on those who witness it. Dakota paused, studying Ethan's eyes, recognizing that this was a man willing to sacrifice, to endure, to honor the sanctity of choice. Ayani's pulse slowed, and she felt a surge of clarity. She realized that her decision could no longer be delayed. Her heart, informed by months of dreams, and now by the undeniable proof of Ethan's character, knew the path she must take. She stepped forward, standing firmly between the two men, her voice steady. "I have made my choice," she said, her eyes locking with Ethan's. "Not because he fought for me, but because he respects me enough to let me choose. My heart, my life, my path will be mine to walk." In that charged moment, the tension between the old world and the new, between duty and desire, began to dissolve. Dakota lowered his blade slightly, a silent acknowledgement of Ethan's bravery and of Ayani's autonomy. The warriors relaxed just enough to allow a fragile peace to settle over the clearing. The battle was not just physical, it was moral, emotional, and cultural. It had tested courage, loyalty, and the essence of love itself. The audience, whether in the mountains of the Apache lands or in the imagination of a listener far away, could feel the exhilaration and the awe of witnessing a choice forged through bravery, respect, and heart. It was the kind of moment that lingered long after the duel ended, a testament to the fact that true courage is measured not in weapons drawn, but in the willingness to risk everything for the sake of honor, freedom, and love. As the first light of morning spilled across the valley, Dakota's eyes, once stern and unyielding, softened. One by one, the Apache warriors lowered their weapons, the tension of the previous hours giving way to quiet acknowledgement. Respect had been earned, not demanded, and in that fragile understanding, a sense of peace settled over the clearing. Dakota approached Ayani, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. Pride and concern mingled in his gaze, a silent recognition that she had chosen wisely, and that Ethan had proven himself worthy not through force, but through courage and respect. Ethan stood beside Ayani, feeling the weight of the ordeal lift with each passing moment. Their hands brushed, then clasped, a tangible sign of the bond that had grown stronger through trials and uncertainty. They both understood that this was more than a victory over physical danger. It was a mutual acknowledgement of trust, respect, and shared responsibility. Ayani knew her life now straddled two worlds: the traditions of her people and the new possibilities she had discovered with Ethan. Her choice required balance, honoring her heritage while embracing the life she could create alongside him. In the days that followed, Ethan and Ayani began to weave their lives together, building a shared rhythm rooted in understanding and cooperation. Ethan learned the intricate patterns of the mountains, the subtle signs of wildlife, and the deep respect that the Apache held for every living thing. He joined Ayani in small ceremonial rituals, listening to the stories of elders and participating with humility in dances and blessings. Ayani, in turn, familiarized herself with ranch life, the rhythm of tending livestock, mending fences, and managing the land, always careful to preserve her cultural identity. Together, they created a life that honored both their worlds, blending tradition with the practicalities of their daily existence. The wider community observed this union with cautious curiosity. Settlers who had once doubted Ethan's intentions and Ayani's presence began to see that the bond was genuine and grounded in respect. Dakota remained nearby, offering guidance, while allowing Ayani to make her own choices, signaling to his warriors that this was a matter of personal honor and family, not conquest or control. Slowly, harmony emerged, not imposed by force, but nurtured through empathy, courage, and understanding. Life together was punctuated by moments of shared celebration and cultural richness. Small festivals marked the changing seasons, filled with music, dance, and communal feasting. Ethan learned the traditional steps of ceremonial dances, listened to the meaning behind songs, and marveled at the significance of sacred symbols and rituals. Ayani guided him, patiently explaining the stories carried across generations, teaching him to see the land and its creatures as her people did. The wilderness itself, the mountains, rivers, and open skies became a living classroom, reminding them of freedom, responsibility, and the beauty of balance. Through these experiences, the audience can appreciate the story's deeper lessons. Courage was not just physical bravery, but the willingness to endure discomfort for the sake of integrity. Respect bridged cultural divides that suspicion and fear could not overcome. Love, rooted in understanding and patience, allowed two worlds to coexist without erasing difference. Ethan's restraint, Ayani's thoughtful navigation of duty and desire, and Dakota's ultimate recognition of merit all exemplified the power of empathy, honor, and moral courage. As the days passed, their home became a place where two worlds met in harmony. Their love did not erase differences. It celebrated them, combining rituals, daily life, and shared values in a rich tapestry of connection. The mountains and rivers bore witness their enduring presence, a reminder that the choices we make can shape not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. Courage, respect, and love were no longer abstract ideals. They were lived experiences, tangible and transformative. For the audience, the story of Ayani and Ethan provides more than romance or adventure. It is a reflection on the value of choice, the strength of cultural understanding, and the enduring impact of bravery and respect. Even today, such stories resonate, reminding us that true connection requires patience, empathy, and the courage to honor one another while forging a shared path. Ayani and Ethan stood together hand in hand in the wide-open wilderness that had shaped their lives. The trials they had faced, the tests of courage, the challenges of loyalty, and the tension between tradition and desire had proven that love, honesty, and bravery could overcome prejudice and cultural divides. Their journey was a testament to the power of doing what is right, even when the path is uncertain, and it showed that meaningful connections are built not through force, but through respect, understanding, and courage. The story carries lessons that resonate far beyond the mountains and plains. Acts of kindness and bravery, no matter how small, can change the course of lives. Ethan's willingness to endure danger and injury rather than harm others demonstrated that true courage is measured by restraint, integrity, and the protection of those we care for. Ayani's careful balance between honoring her people and following her heart showed that loyalty, family, and respect for tradition remain vital even when stepping into new worlds. Together, their choices revealed that personal responsibility carries immense weight, but it also opens the door to hope and reconciliation for entire communities. As the sun rose higher, the couple gazed across the rugged landscape, ready to build a life together, while maintaining their connections to heritage and family. Each mountain ridge, flowing river, and vast sky seemed to witness the harmony they had achieved. Their story illustrated that love does not erase differences. It bridges them, allowing understanding and respect to flourish. Courage, moral integrity, and the willingness to act rightly are timeless values, guiding individuals through conflict and shaping relationships that endure. For the audience, this tale offers more than adventure or romance. It is a reflection on the enduring power of empathy, bravery, and ethical choices. Life's challenges, whether personal, cultural, or social, can be met not only with strength, but with the courage to honor others and the wisdom to make thoughtful, principled decisions. Ayani and Ethan's journey reminds us that when hearts are guided by respect and love, even the most difficult obstacles can be transformed into opportunities for connection and growth. If this story of Ayani and Ethan has inspired you, we invite you to follow Epic Western Stories, share this tale, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, celebrating courage, integrity, and the enduring human spirit. In the end, these tales show that even in the wildest landscapes, love, respect, and moral courage can light the way forward.